Alright, so get right on to it. These are comic reviews. It's not everything that I showed off, like, oh, here's what I'll be reading for the next few weeks, kind of thing. And the reason why that is because these are library books, and I want to return. I have a system for returning them, and I think this system is pretty good. Like, say, yeah, okay, there's a lot of more. I feel like a lot of them are the ones in my personal collection, but still, the system I have going is going to work out where I return like it'll have a lot that are 7 issues per volume. So when I finish those in the 6 issue volumes, I'll return all those at one time and kind of like do that, and then the 4 issues and 5 issues do that. Anyways, let's get on with it, because I'm confusing everybody. First up is Absolution. If I had to pick a pick of the week, I would probably pick this. Now, how can I say that if I haven't finished each and every book? Well, I've read enough of each and every book. And I don't include rereads. This is a partial reread, so it counts as a reading it for the first time, so it counts as the pick of the week. But not picking rereads, yeah, I think this might be my pick of the week, because I've read at least 5 issues of each book, except for Vinland Saga and Battle Angel Alita, both of which you didn't see yet, because I didn't show them off, because I got them later down the line. And yeah, I'm looking behind me, like I'm... With the ones that are left, I would say that my pick of the week might just be this. Maybe another one that I have that's another indie book, but this is a good answer to obviously it's not Batman, but should heroes like Batman kill? And it is the ultimate not only answer to it, but also raises some questions itself of how, like, who you should kill and shouldn't kill, kind of thing, like anger and all that. And it's just a really damn good, solid book. And the best part about this book is you could technically count this as being a 7-issue miniseries. It has a beginning, middle, and the end. There's no real loose ends to tie up. Sure, you want to read more and see what happens next, but you could just read this as is. You know, most of these books have one little more, and it kind of maybe is, but they have one more little loose end they haven't tied up, and they're like, oh, stick around for volume 2, here's, tease for volume 2, and there's nothing like that in here. I honestly wonder if this was originally intended to be a 7-issue miniseries, but it sold so well that it became its own, like, ongoing. So I don't know if it's still going, but still, really damn good, and a nice surprise from a book that I completely forgot about until I was looking in my comic collection, putting away books and all that junk, because I got so many books on my shelf. I put them in the closet, and I was doing that the other day, and I was like, oh, Absolution, forgot about that book, I should read that one. And lo and behold, here we go. Finished it, rather. And I did. Glad I did. The Amazing Spider-Man Kraven's Last Hunt, I've always considered to be my favorite Spider-Man book. And so far, I think my second reread of Gene DeWolf will beat that. But this is still, at the very least, my second favorite Spider-Man comic. This is just what I want out of a Spider-Man comic. I mean, it feels different, that feels a need to exist in the thousands of years that's been since we've had Spider-Man. We've had Spider-Man for, like, what, 60 years now? And 60 years of stories, eventually you're gonna cross familiar ground. And this is a way to avoid that trope of being like, oh, this is just like this book. Yeah, I don't want more Kraven Last Hunt, but I would like to see more darker age Spider-Man. It's not too dark. This is my kind of dark Spider-Man story. And it also has some hope too. But still really good. Really dark, surprisingly ahead of its time for a book that came out in 1987 and still had to abide by the comics code. This is why I liked this era of Spider-Man so much, because of stories like this. And I'll go over my out of 10 ratings at the end, if I remember. Daredevil Yellow. I'm gonna do this back and back, because back to fourth, back to back. No, back to back. I'm gonna do these back to back because these are both technically Daredevil origin retellings. Now, this one is more of an origin retelling than this is. This still retells his origin, but if you know your Spider-Man Blue, this is, and you know your Daredevil Yellow and like all that, you know what the twist is in this book. It still is an origin retelling. It's still the early days of Daredevil, but it has more of a point. The point isn't to retell Daredevil's origin, it's to also shed some light on a certain relationship he has with someone, which I will not spoil. It's Karen. That's all I'll say. Karen Page, but I'll not say anymore. Daredevil, Man Without Fear is straight up an origin retelling, while also adding in new elements, of course. And both of these are basically the Superman birthright to a Superman secret origin. They're both very good and both have a reason for existing, but I think I like Man Without Fear more. Not too much more, like 0.5 points more. Like this is a 9.5, this is a 10 out of 10. That's what it is. They're still quintessential, amazing Daredevil comics that everyone should read. And can read, because you're just getting to Daredevil also. But you can read both. I would say read both. You can't just read one. Even though they both tell the same story of his origin, they add enough to his lore that each gives a reason. Each gives a reason for its existence, basically. But both quintessential, must-read Daredevil comics. So you can't consider yourself a Daredevil fan if you haven't read at least one of these. And I consider myself a Daredevil fan. Batgirl, Birds of Prey. This one, I always was like, oh my god, this is so underrated, except for that one minor nitpick that kind of was more a bit, it's like above a nitpick, but below a criticism. Like, that would make the score, make the overall score go down at all. Noticeably at all. And that's actually in the second volume, not in this volume, so technically, this is devoid of all flaws, right? Well, not exactly. I noticed that around my 600 times, I've read this 6 times, I think, that the pacing is kind of off in the first volume at least. And there's a certain new character, and for the longest time I was like, well, he means well, and yeah, he does, but he still makes a huge ass mistake that even back then I was like, they're too harsh on him. Now I'm like, nope. They kind of were at the right amount of harsh on him. It was kind of weird how I realized that my 6th time. Maybe even 7th. It's like rivaling Preacher for how many times I've reread the series. It's not as good as Preacher. Even back then, I never would say this is as good as Preacher. Not even close. But this is, I would probably say 7.5. This is more 6 out of 10. Not terrible. I still recommend people check it out, but don't rush out and grab it. Don't rush out and read it. To read it. Suicide Squad. This is what they should have done for the Suicide Squad movie. First of all, you have most of the characters from the and I mean the original 2016 version. First of all, it has the same dark edge to it. It still wants to be edgy and dark and gritty, and that's what this book is. But also, it has most of the characters in the 2016 movie, except for King Shark, which was in the much better James Gunn version. But this gave you they just used this as a script. And just gave Adam Glass scripting credits, then we would have had a much better 2016 outing. And if they just kept the studio out of it, we would have gotten a much better, even better than whatever cut David Ayer says his cut is. Unless his cut is literally this, but I doubt it would be. Because I think it's supposed to be that different. Meant to be that different than the original cut. But this is just really damn good. It's a major surprise for me too. Because I always remember liking this run, but this is really damn good. If this wasn't a reread, because I did realize I had read all this before, I would pick this. This would be my pick of the week. That's how good this was. Robin, Son of Batman is a good palate cleanser. I'll probably be this once a year, probably, at this point. It's still good. I still like it. No, I'd say every 6 months. This is the reason why I say every 6 months, even though the majority of books I said, oh, it's every 6 month rule. It's 3 months. Books like this is the reason why. I just kind of forget about them, because they're just kind of forgettable stories, and I'm like, oh yeah, Robin, I guess we could do that again. Why not? Yeah, let's do that again, kind of like that. Still good, though. I still recommend people check it out at least once. But, I would say that after... I doubt this is included in the Batman and Robin New 52 Omnibus, but if it is, cool. If it isn't, I still would recommend people pick these 2 trades up. They shouldn't be too expensive on Amazon. It should not be out of print right now. Maybe the hardcover is more expensive, but this paperback should be fine. Deceased. Well, not as good as Marvel Zombies. I still think this is a pretty damn good book. A pretty damn good zombie comic. Now, Marvel Zombies I've always really liked because it gave me almost everything I wanted about from a Marvel comic with zombies and more. This did give me what I wanted, but didn't really exceed my expectations. Just met them. Maybe because I had ridiculously high expectations, it never exceeded those, but it met them pretty much. Like, I was never bored with this comic. I always wanted to see what's going to happen next. I thought the pacing was almost always perfect, but not completely perfect. I would say this was like, if I had to give it out of score 10 for the pacing, I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10 for pacing, but all around 8 out of 10. I recommend this comic. I cannot wait to read. I do anticipate reading the volume 2, but to say I can't wait to read volume 2 would be a bit of an overstatement. I can wait, but I am glad I have the entire series, so I can read it whenever I want to. Nightwing Volume 2 continues Tom Taylor's really damn good run on Nightwing, and also underrated run. No, not underrated. That was too far. It continues his damn good run of Nightwing that everyone who says it's good is not exaggerating the slightest. This is a really good Nightwing run from a writer who is not the best writer in general. Well, yeah, I know he wrote this, but like, honestly, I don't think I've read anything by him I've hated. His Spider-Man run kind of got annoying after a while, but I still liked it enough. There were some annoying parts. He tried to do a remake of, I imagine it was a remake of The Kid Who Collects Spider-Man, which, even though I have not read that, I can already tell is going to be the better version, and the original going to be the better version by a landslide. But other than like those two things, I want to say I actually like the Spider-Man run. Like, I don't mind Tom Taylor as a writer. Now, I've not read all of his Superman Son of Kal-El run. I just read the first volume, but even that I didn't think was too bad. But it didn't get to what everyone hates about that run, so I can't say that for certain. But I do. Part of me is kind of bummed that the library does not have Volume 3, if it hasn't even come out yet. I believe it has. But with how slow DC Comics is with their hardcover, just their collected edition releases of ongoing series, I would not be surprised if Volume 3 just came out like a month ago at most. Like, at the very least, I mean. Even though we're done with the run now, I believe. Finally, Riddler Year 1. This is what I want licensed comics to be. You don't have to read this to understand the movie, but it also benefits you if you want to know more about them. Like, you watch the movie, like, oh, I want to know more about Riddler. This will, I'm just making sure that's taking a second time. This will meet all expectations and maybe even exceed all. It's my second time reading this, and I think it's just as good as it was the first time, if not better. Now, one downside to this run is the 5th issue, which is just this. A lot of writing on paper, and it's just text with some illustrations. It makes the overall pacing of the comic grind to a halt, but other than that, this is a damn good run. And that's just one issue. And honestly, I'd almost say, after your first read through of the comic, unless you really like the issue 5, like the aesthetic behind issue 5, go nuts. But I would say after your first read through, if you're like me and you found that it was completely useless, hell, just put a note on the book if you own it, say skip issue 5. There's no point in reading issue 5 again, because it really does hurt the overall pacing of the book. Like, if I read this all in one sitting, I would probably dock a point because of that issue 5. But I read it per issue, so it wasn't that bad. It was just one day. It was like, oh yeah, Riddler, cool. But that's it. All comics reviewed. Now it's been all of them. I didn't forget about Absolution this time around. That was the book I forgot about. Now to the out of 10. 8.5 out of 10 for Absolution. Maybe even 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for Absolution. 8.5 out of 10 for Kraven's Last Hunt. 9.5 for Daredevil Yellow, and like I said before, 10 out of 10 for Daredevil Man Without Fear. Does not mean it's as good as Preacher, I just mean it's a perfect Daredevil story. Batgirl Birds of Prey, 6 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. I think I always give that series a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. It's just, the pacing is off, and it's not as good, but not like terrible either. I still do recommend checking out that series if you have any interest in checking it out. Suicide Squad, 8.5 out of 10. Robin, Son of Batman, 7 out of 10. Again, just like a nice little palate cleanser. You're probably not gonna remember it in like a few days. I haven't. I forgotten about it. Deceased, 8 out of 10. Solid 8. Nightwing, 8.5 out of 10. So I can't say this. I would say it was a bit better than these. Nah, I would say they're both 8 out of 10. Both 8. And then Riddler Year 1, 9.5 out of 10. And that, as I say, is that 15 minutes. Nice. I spared 2 minutes. But I gotta get that Clementine book. So that will be a community post because I don't know if I'll even finish it tonight. I doubt I will. And if I finish it tomorrow, I don't want to review one book. You know, it's kind of stupid. It's kind of pointless. It's a waste of a video. So I'll just put a little community post. Probably will put it out before this video comes out. So you already saw it, probably. Maybe. I don't know.